Advanced Health Sciences, Psychology, Virtual Interactive Notebook 4, Personality. Day 5, Self-Concept. Today we're going to talk about Rogers, who was a humanist psychologist. The way to sum it up easily, every psychology class I've ever had, when they talk about the humanists, they say, oh, this came out of the 60s, and the shorthand is sort of like, these are the hippie psychologists. And these are people who believe that you are born good and you can be perfected. It's humanism, right? And if you come from a religious family, humanism is not going to be something that your family probably, well, I don't want to make any assumptions. I came from a conservative background, and we were definitely taught that humanism wasn't necessarily great. So that I probably bring that bias. Anyway, whatever, humanism. Okay, you're born good and you can be perfected if your needs are met and if you have access to information. It's a nice thing to think about. So we're going to talk about Rogers, and Rogers talks about self-concept. And I mean, if you take all of this personality stuff, it seems like personality is all of this together. It seems like so far, if you just took one school, you'd be missing out on quite a bit, right? So I'm not telling you how to view this. Me personally, I think that so far all of these things have at least some kind of nugget of truth. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay, so Rogers dealt with the idea that there's who you want to be and there's who you are. And the closer those things are, the better your psychological outcomes will be. And the further apart they are, the worse your psychological outcomes will be. So if your ideal self and your real self are pretty close, you are congruent. And if you're not very close, you're incongruent. Now, I've been both. I've been incongruent when I was younger and more congruent as an older man. And I do feel better now than I did when I was young, now that my real self is more in line with my ideal self. Okay, so the main idea is self-concept. That goes in the middle of your notes. Okay, you can see what I've done here. Self-concept is there. And then you have your ideal self, branching off of that, your real self, and then congruence. All right? So the ideal self is who you would like to be. That's what I want you to write down. Ideal self is who you would like to be. Remember, you can pause this video. Your real self is who you are. Who you are. Real self is who you are. Congruence. If the two are similar, good outcomes. So for congruence, write down if the two are similar, good outcomes, meaning you will be productive, successful, and you will have good self-esteem and enjoy your life. Next, if not, maladjustment, poor outcomes. Maladjustment means that you will not adjust well to life. You will not be as successful. You will not be as effective. You will not be as happy. I have been both. So it is good to become more like your ideal self, right? If you can hold a picture in your mind, how do you do that? If you can hold a picture in your mind of who you want to be, and when a choice comes up, it's really about your choices. If you make a good choice that is more congruent to your ideal self, something good will happen as a result. And it's sort of self-reinforcing. I found that to be true, right? So I found when I was 32, I came home and I told my wife, you know what? People like it if you're kind to them. And she looked at me like I was an idiot, but it really didn't occur to me till then. So I tried to be more kind to people. And as I was more kind to people, more people liked me and relied on me, and I created more of a sense of family around myself. And I really like being kind to people because of the good things it does for me, I guess, right? But my ideal self was kind, and my real self wasn't as kind. And the kinder I am, the more congruent I am with my ideal self, and the better my outcomes have been. And that's absolutely true. Now, I did not find that with nice. So I define kindness as genuinely trying to help other people. I define nice as pretending to be a certain way to get a certain result. I view the idea of being nice as manipulative and not genuine. That doesn't mean that's real. I mean, being a nice person is probably a good thing to be. I don't see it that way, but what do I know, right? So I'm not nice. I think you'll all agree I'm not nice. And my ideal self is not nice. And strangely, not trying to be nice is more congruent with my ideal self, I had better psychological outcomes. Now, I am not the font of all wisdom. I might have something terribly wrong here, right? I don't think I do, but you shouldn't trust what I say. So whatever. Anyway, for your output, I want you to create a chart where you contrast your real self with your ideal self, right? So here is what that might look like on your notes. Okay. I also have an example in today's lesson. Real self on the left, ideal self on the right. And these are traits that I actually think I display. So this is my actual chart. So real self, I'm still working on eating. My real self, undisciplined eating. My ideal self, disciplined eating. Now I have made positive changes in my body as I approach more my ideal self. So that's good. My real self, kind. My ideal self is kind. Remember, this is kind for me. It's kind for my baseline. I'm way more kind than I used to be. I'm definitely not as kind as, say, Mrs. Remy, right? She is way kinder than I am, but I'm kinder than I used to be. Real self, I am somewhat resilient. My ideal self is completely resilient. It doesn't matter what people, I'm going to be fine. I have an internal locus of control. I'm not all the way there. So that's an incongruence. And that is a cause of some anxiety for me. My real self, somewhat competent with tools. My ideal self would be completely competent with tools. I'm getting better at that. I'm learning to use tools more, right? That's just a big deal for me. It doesn't have to be for you, right? It's just me. So that was day 5, self-concept. That was Rogers the Humanist self-concept. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 6. 2 more to go.